Well, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the C&E Sales webinar series. Thank you for attending today's webinar. I am your host, Brad Hart. I am an automation specialist with C&E Sales, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to navigate your way through Siemens Support Access 101. This webinar is scheduled from 10:30 to 11:30. Though I don't know if we will use the entire hour. But with that said, let's get right to it. So some of the things that, if you're doing a Siemens project or utilizing any kind of Siemens hardware, typically you're wanting to find any kind of manual technical data, or if you're wanting to do any kind of software or firmware updates with your system, where do you go about and find this information? Maybe you're looking for a 2D CAD drawing or maybe a 3D step file, or maybe you just need to know, hey, there's a frequently asked question, how do you do this? All right. There's all sorts of things I want to show you today, but even before we get to that point, just to let you know that with C&E Sales, we are your first line of defense, and typically, we do hear from everybody, and we do appreciate your Siemens business and all business for that matter. But the purpose of this webinar is to help to teach you how to fish and find this information on your own. But please remember, if you do get into a sticky situation and you need help right away, and one of the specialists are not readily available, you do have the Siemens hotline number that you can dial, 800-333-7421. There's no charge for this service between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. based on the time zone you're located here in the U.S. But looking down here further on this slide, if you do a Google search and type in the string Siemens Automation Support USA, it may be the first link, it may be the second link, but this is the one that you want to click on to be able to get access to the support website. So I happen to have my Google search string open, and sure enough, it shows up as the second link here. So in clicking on that link, this is going to bring up the support website. Now there's a lot of information here. Where do you begin? Typically, I start off with the product support. And when you click on the product support, on the left-hand side, you're going to get a navigation pane. And through this navigation pane, everything is categorized based on the technology. So if you're looking for something specific in the drive technology, you can drill down into that area. And if it happens to be with a drive or a converter, you get the low voltage converters and such. So you may be able to find the Dynamics G family, Dynamics S, the master drives, micro master drives. That's where you begin to find this information. All right. If you're going into the automation technology area, things again are categorized. It may take 2 or 3 or 4 clicks to be able to drill down to what you're looking for. So just underneath the automation systems, we have all of the PLCs and the hardware categorized underneath the industrial automation systems. Here I can finally find the PLCs. Underneath the PLCs, you have the Simatic S7 family. And even if you look down further beneath that, we have the older 505 systems, the S5 systems as well. Just one thing to note, if you are looking for any information with the distributed I/O, the ET200 system, you can find that beneath here. Anything associated with operator interfaces or HMIs, you can drill down and find that information here, and you can see everything's associated based on its specific panel type. Anything having to do with identification using RFID technology or the code reading technologies you'll find here. And if there's something you have use in your facility that you don't see here right away, for example, an RFID, there's an archive folder down below. Here you will find the older Mobi-I, the Mobi-E type of equipment. So even if there's something that's a mature product, you still can find information for that on this website. Anything associated with industrial communications, being standard industrial Ethernet, if you want to find things such as managed switches, cabling media, and the like. Profinet and Profibus. There's the AS interface or the OSI network, IO-Link. Maybe you're building an industrial Wi-Fi network in your facility. You can find that information here. Of course, you do have the industrial security to help separate your plant Ethernet network from your office network to create your DMZ zones. You can find information there. We can continue to look down at industrial controls. Here is where you're going to start to find a lot of the motor starters and contactors, those kinds of equipment, even the push buttons, pallet lights, and the like. Everything is going to be found on this website. Of course, you can go on and on and on. I'll just highlight a couple more. You got your PC-based automation. If you have your industrial PCs, being a rack, box, or maybe a panel mount industrial PC, you'll be able to find that information here. Of course, you have power supplies, sensor systems, even the building technology. But if you're focused heavily on trying to build a safety integrated system, then we have an area here just for safety, and they're categorized as either factory automation or for process automation. So what I typically do if I'm looking for maybe a manual or some technical data, let's say I'm looking for something related with an S7 PLC. So I'll drill down, and it doesn't take very long to get down to where I'm into maybe an S7 300 PLC. I'm looking at the CPUs, and I'm looking for a standard CPU. Once I click on that, then everything over here to the right begins to change. So I have two tabs that pop up here. I've got a product list and I have an entry list. Now when you first come into this, your settings may be to see all milestones, and all milestones will show every single S7 300 product that has been released by Siemens, going all the way back to as early as 1996. All right. Now, yours may only be showing 10 on a page. If you want to show more than 10 items per page, down here in the lower right-hand corner, you have the Settings tab. You click on Settings. Here you can change how many entries are displayed per page. Now, let's leave that as 50. All right. If you just want to look at the most recent products that are currently available for purchase, you just go to Delivery Release. And now these have been compacted down to just a single page. So maybe in particular I'm looking for the 315-2 PNDP. Obviously there's the part number. I can click on that link. Page refreshes, and now I see an image of the processor. Here's a short product description. You can see the product life cycle when it was first released. If we scroll down, we see areas with some links here of the most recent links for updates, maybe some downloads, FAQs, and manuals. We'll come back and address those here in a moment. But first and foremost, we have these three tabs at the top. We can go and look at the technical data. And when this populates, this essentially is all of the data that you would see in a Siemens PLC catalog right here in front of you. Any detail you want to find out is going to be right here. And of course, there's a lot of information. Okay, so maybe I want to have Maybe I'm looking for a 2D CAD drawing, a DXF file. How do I go about in finding that information? Well, over here on the right hand side, we have more information on these CPUs. I can expand out the technical info, and now I see images, graphics, and drawings. I can click on this further. I get a separate pop-up window. In a moment, we're going to have images. Hopefully that was just associated with the 315 only, but it looks like I have images for probably all of the 300 processors. So I can go over to the search field over here and just reduce this down maybe to CPU 315 and hit the return key. Alright, so now we have the images showing up there just for anything with the 315 processor. Again, I can change how many objects I want to view on this page. We'll just say 100, even though there's only 36 objects. And lo and behold, here is a file here that's a 315-2 PNDP. That's a 256 byte. This may be a much wider module. I may want to go down here to this one here. That's probably the latest and greatest. So you can click on that, and you get this pop-up window here. And from here, I can choose, do I want a DXF file? Do I want a JPEG image? Do I want a PNG image that I typically use from time to time in PowerPoint presentations? So you can click on that, and of course you can download that information to your PC. So that's how you can access images and CAD files. Alright. Now, previously on the product information, we had all the updates, downloads, FAQs, manuals, and everything there. I'm just going to copy this real quick, the part number to the clipboard. But there's this page here called Entries. If we click on Entries, this is where we are going to find FAQs, manuals, any kind of updates and downloads. So for example, we'll click on Manuals. And here I can see manuals specific for the S7300 family. Of course, if I wanted to download this document right here, I can click on it. It'll take me to one more page, and here's where I can click on the download and download that PDF file to my PC. If I have a certain FAQ, I can look at all of the FAQs associated with this particular CPU. And of course, based on where you have your focus on in the navigation pane, you may see lots and lots more of these FAQs. If you go to download, this is where you may find possibly a software update or maybe a firmware update. Maybe if I put the focus on the CPUs themselves, here we go. Here's the operating system update for the 315. So this is probably where you're going to find the firmware. So here's all of the current firmwares. It will give you a description of what each firmware does, any fixes it takes care of, or any new features. It does give you instructions here on how to update the firmware on that CPU. Of course, if you need a certificate, there are certificates available if you need to provide that to a customer or have that stored in your facility. So here you can download all the certificates. So looking back now at the information that most people are looking for, we're now able to access the technical data. We now know how to look and find manuals, firmware updates, possibly some software updates, which hopefully you have an SUS for like your Step 7 software or your WinCC software, so you do get those yearly updates. We can find drawings and images, we can FAQs, and we'll come back and look at sample applications here in a moment. But what I have taken you through is probably the long way of trying to find this information. There is a much quicker way to do this. So instead of looking at the navigation pane, you could click on Index from A to Z. So now if I look and maybe I'm looking for, I don't know, maybe well, we just click search in the box, search in the index. Here we go. Let's click on C. Let's do a search for a CP341. This is an Ethernet module or a serial module. I believe it's a serial module for the S7300 system. All right, and we get a list of devices here, so I can click on this link and it will take me straight away to the entry list for all of just for this information. Of course, I can go to the product list as well and find that respective part number. So if you know what the model number may be, like CP341, then you can find out what the part number may be that you have in your system. Of course, you can click on these individual letters and then scroll down and maybe find information specifically just based on, of course, on the letter. If I'm looking for maybe an RFID, maybe I can click on the letter R. Of course, there's an RFID system that you can click on. So there's several ways in which you can go about getting there. If we're back on the home page, you have two fields that you can start to type in information. You've got the self-help here, this field, or in the upper right-hand corner. Again, up here I can type in maybe the word primer and click on return. Now the primer is just the device that you use that you can actually write a program to a micro memory card or delete the contents off of a memory card. But I had to do this myself yesterday, and sure enough I get all the links right here for the primer and all of the information down here, be it FAQs, maybe manuals. If I click on manuals specifically, maybe click on this link right here, then I can download the manual. But if I want to see where this took me in the navigation pane, I can click on show navigation on the left, and now I know where I am in respect to the navigation pane. So now there's a even quicker method on how to get access to this information just using these fields as you log into it. Now again, I've taken you the long way to show you how to drill down and access these files one at a time, but there's even another tool available to you called the CAX Download Manager, shown in the right hand side underneath my support, CAX Download Manager. So we go and we click on it. All right, I may have to do a refresh. Now it's going to ask you to log in. This is a good point. I'll come back to this in just one moment, but there is a login up here. If you don't have a login for the Siemens support website, I highly recommend you creating one, as there's a lot of benefit. I'm going to go ahead and log in for now. For the CAX Download Manager, I already did one earlier today, but just to show you what this does, if I click on New, I can add new product numbers, and I can type them in one at a time, or I could type in, let's say, a whole bunch of product numbers as in from a bill of materials all at one time. So I copied that S7300 part number to the clipboard and pasted it here. Of course, I can also have several other part numbers listed. I'll click on OK. And right away, I have all of these icons from which I can click on to download maybe just a 2D DXF file. Here's one where I can actually get, I think it's the step file, the STP file. As we're waiting here we go. There it is. Do you want to open or save the STP file? So that's how you get to the three-dimensional file. Of course, you want to load an E-plan format. There you go. This is technical data. This is a manual, product images, certificates. So all that information is there that you can click on and just download just the information that you need. Of course, you could have an entire list here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click on continue, because now maybe I want to go ahead, because I have a large list of part numbers, maybe I want to select just the data sheets, maybe the 2D dimensional drawings, and the manuals associated for that list of products. Now click on continue. What this is going to do, once I select the language that I want this information to appear in, which for me of course is going to be English only, it's going to create essentially a zip file containing all of this information. Please enter a name for this. I'm just going to call it My New Test, and create the CAX download. Okay, I was successful. We'll go to the CAX download manager, and the status is waiting. This may take a few minutes to create this zip file. What you will end up seeing is in your email, you're going to see an email sent to you that's going to have a link that you can click on that will take you to where you can actually download that zip file. And this is the one that we saw when I first logged in. So I can download the zip file, and I did that earlier today. This is the zip file that I received, and inside of it I have an area for the manuals that I received, of course, for product data sheets. This would be great if you wanted to get all of the data sheets. It allows you to collate them together, put them into a binder to send out with your machine for your customer. Of course, you do have the two-dimensional drawings and any other information that I may have selected before. So that's another way in which that Siemens is able to collate everything together for you into a single zip file for a large VOM, and then give you the link for you to download. All right. So we talked about logging in order to utilize the CAX Download Manager. Well, there is a login button right here, but you can register to register your own login. All right. Of course, I'm currently logged in as myself, and this is the kind of information that they're going to look for. What's nice about having this login is now, if I'm back here on one of these pages over the right hand side underneath my support, there's a link here called Support Request. Now, you could call the hotline number at that 800-333-7421 number and talk to somebody there, and they're very good about getting back to you within a 2-hour window to answer your question. Or if this happens to be in the middle of the night, you can then start to type in, let's say, an order number. Maybe this is I'll just use CP 341 and just do a search. Let's see if it comes back. Here we go, communication, CP 341, that's the one I want. We'll click on next. Select an application case. We'll just type in some verbiage. Now, they're going to provide you with maybe some FAQs or manuals or some downloads, wherever the case may be, that, hey, they may have already answered this question once before, and it just appears right here. If not, if you don't see anything there that applies to you, just go ahead and click on Next. Here you can give a very detailed description on what the problem is. I'm just going to type in, this is only a test or a webinar. Please do not respond. And that's just to let the people know that when they do receive this, that this is just only a test. What's nice about having this details section is that, you know, if you're calling that 1-800 number and you're speaking to the receptionist, if you will, on the line, they're pretty good about putting in a description. But if you have more details than what they're there to put in, I mean, you can put as much here as you want to be very detailed. That's going to help, so when the engineer calls you back and responds to you, he can better address the issue that you're currently having. Now, if you do happen to have any kind of a file or a picture or maybe even a step 7 project, you can then attach that here and click on Next. Finally, it's going to ask for your contact information. If you need to change this for any reason, just click on Next. And at the very end, you get a summary. And I recommend checking this box here to please send me a copy of my support request. And send. So now that request has been sent out to the Siemens support down there in Johnson City, Tennessee. And shortly, if I haven't already, there is that copy in my inbox of that support request. Now I can then utilize this to begin to communicate back and forth to the engineer via email. So that's how you do a support request. Now, what else is available to us up here? We've been in product support. One of the things you may notice here on the left-hand side of the navigation pane is you can modify what information that you want to see, essentially a filter. So if I only want to see, if I don't want to see, for example, the 505s, the S5s, the C7s, and M7s, I can just uncheck that. All right, and then I'm good to go. All right, but I'm just going to cancel. But again, I just want to show you that, hey, you can actually modify your view over here for your navigation pane. But other tools that you have available to you, there is this application and tools area. Underneath the applications and tools is where you can actually find application examples. So sometimes I'll get a call and it's like, I really want to do this. Do you have any sample code? Do you have an example that you can send me? And sometimes I'll come and I'll find this site. And if there are examples that may be specific, let's say to, I don't know, an S7 1200 PLC, I can do a search and see if an actual application exists. So here's a way of reading our RFID data with Somatic RF200 with the IO-Link readers. If I click on it, it's going to give us a description of the application. With the solution, it's going to give you some PDF files, the libraries, and the actual application project that you can download. That would be a great starting point for you in your program and application. So you have all these applications and tools. All right. In addition to the application examples, you have function blocks and tools. There's even background and system descriptions. Again, you can take a moment to go through and look at this information, but again, there's a wealth of information here at your fingertips. I'm just taking the time here to show you how to go and find it. Then we have this forum location here. This is where you can go in and you can begin to converse with some experts. Maybe if there's something specific with, we'll just say maybe with the SM1500, one of the newer PLC platforms, and it has something to do maybe with STL instructions for the SM1500, you may be able to join in with the conversation and maybe see what has come up. Typically, if you're going into a Google search and you try and do a search for, hey, how do you do, STL on SM1500? You may very well come and find one of these support or forum pages. Here we go. Here's that link. I'll click on this link, and sure enough, it takes you to that forum. So you have that aspect that you can reference to find information on. All right. Okay. So now we've been looking, and we can manually find each of these individual pieces of information. We can then get that information all at one time using the CAX download manager and group a large BOM of materials, a bill of materials, into one zip file and just receive that all at one time. We've seen some sample applications that you can go and find. There is a services part here to the website. In here, if you want to know more maybe about some training, there's training related information. And some of this I have not been into yet myself. But again, just to show you that there is a wealth of information here on the website. If you wanted to take a guided tour, we have the guided tour down here, which you can click on and then watch some videos on how to navigate the site. If it's specific videos you're wanting to find, one thing that C&E Sales has done, and I'll go to the C&E site and I'll show you some of the things that Siemens has done specifically. But there is this button up here on the C&E Sales site called Member Access. If you're not aware of it, you can click here to get your own username and password just by putting in this information and submitting it. One of our two marketing people will then send you a response back and give you your own username and password. For right now, I'm going to type in the one that I use and log in. Okay, here we have Video Quick Starts. Go to Video Quick Starts and then click on Siemens. I have created a series of how-to videos on how to view Step 7 basis, maybe for Somatic Manager, which is now coming to be known as maybe the classic software versus the TI Portal software. So if you wanted to know about IEC timers, you can click on the IEC timers. It'll take you to a YouTube site. Now this is a private unlisted site, and a video will start to play, and it's me describing to you on how to utilize that information. Okay, so this is handy to have if you want to learn more about how to utilize the Step 7 software. Of course, we have that on Step 7 Basis version 5.5, WinCC Flexible 2008, Step 7 Professional version 11 Plus, because I know we're at version 12 right now with the software for TI Portal. And I'm currently working on a series for WinCC Comfort V11/V12. And I'm trying to get those pulled together and put these up here. Bottom line is there's about 4 hours worth of videos in each of these categories that would allow you to do about 85% of what would be standard task for these systems. There's other information that's out there. I know Siemens has been doing their own videos now. Maybe if you want to learn something about the SM1200. And I know Siemens has been posting these up on YouTube as well. You can go and you can view and learn about that hardware as well. So these videos are out there. I know Siemens uses the Profinet and Profibus networks, and specifically on Profinet, because I know a lot of people now are starting to go with Ethernet being used in their factory automation. Profinet has a series of videos called Minute Profinet, and these are very, very informative. I highly recommend, if you have some time, to go through and review these videos. And that's about all that I have to cover today. Hopefully this was informative for you on how to be able to access information, find information on the Siemens websites for manuals, technical data, firmware updates, FAQs. If there are any questions, you can text me a question. I'm going to see if there is anything here. Somebody raising their hand. Okay. I am recording this webinar, so hopefully by the end of the day today we will have this webinar posted up on our website that you can go back to and view again. Again, you will have to be logged in to the member area, member access, and above the video quick starts there's one called past webinars. You can click on past webinars. This one will be underneath Siemens, and it will be posted here, and you can click on that webinar and then view it again. Of course, you can see all the past webinars that Siemens Sales has been putting on for the past few years. So please take advantage of that and advantage of any of the information we have here on our member website. I don't see any questions. I'll go ahead and I'll finish it up then. Again, I just want to thank everybody so much for taking your time out of your day today to come and attend our webinar. Again, we do put these on once a month. But thanks again, and good luck to you out there and working with your Siemens hardware and software.